Welcome to a new episode of Cheaters Always Cheat. Like, subscribe, and share to stay connected.
You won't believe the tangled web of deception my wife has spun since the very moment we crossed paths. And I mean every single detail of it. From her identity to the events that shaped her life, her unfaithfulness, and even her empty promises of change. I've confronted her on numerous occasions, catching her at her most vulnerable, hoping she would reveal the truth amidst her web of lies. But alas, those confessions turned out to be nothing more than additional layers of falsehood. Now, I may not possess the title of a shrink, but I reckon she's got a good dose of histrionic personality disorder coursing through her veins, along with a knack for pathological lying. She ticks off every damn symptom on the list, believe me. When I first met her, I had just come out of a long-term relationship and was looking for a casual fling. Back then, online platforms like Adult Friend Finder were the go-to for finding quick connections. Being budget conscious, I searched for her username and eventually found her IM handle. We struck up a conversation and decided to meet for lunch a few weeks later. Lunch went well, leading to more dates and close encounters. She mentioned having a male roommate, but I didn't pay much attention to it. I had no inkling to dig deeper, lost in my own gullibility. She disclosed her past marriage, its demise, fueled by her ex's unfaithfulness. It left her in a bind, seeking refuge in the company of a roommate due to financial constraints. Late one evening, during the early stages of our relationship, I found myself dining with some colleagues while toiling away on an overnight project. Suddenly my phone rang, and I answered to a distraught voice on the other end. It was her, overcome with emotions and seemingly inconsolable. She revealed that she had recently discovered a shocking truth about her upbringing, a truth that shattered the very foundation of her identity. The man she had known as her father, whom we'll refer to as Italian Dad, was not her biological father. Instead, he was a man her mother had been romantically involved with while her real father languished behind bars. Upon her father's release from prison, he was introduced to her as her uncle, while Italian Dad assumed the role of a surrogate father. Real Dad remained absent from her life, while Italian Dad played the part of the devoted father figure. I was captivated by this woman. She held a bachelor's degree from the same university I attended, albeit a different campus, and later pursued a master's at Columbia University in Noisy. After working in her field for some time, she grew weary and transitioned to a less demanding job in retail. Our love for each other was strong and genuine. She decided to go on the pill, as it offered a more pleasurable experience for both of us. However, our lives took an unexpected turn when she shared the news. I was going to be a father. I'm a man of loyalty and honor, unwavering in my commitment. Deep down, I had already made the decision to ask her hand in marriage. I longed for the perfect moment, a romantic gesture that would sweep her off her feet. However, the tides of her pregnancy brought forth a storm of emotions, and she found herself engulfed in uncontrollable sobs, consumed by the fear of me leaving her. Understanding the weight of her past struggles and her burdened conscience as an unmarried expectant mother, I couldn't bear to see her in such distress. In that moment, I realized waiting for the ideal time was a luxury we couldn't afford. Without a ring, in the humble confines of our living room, amidst her tear-streaked face, I made my move. It may not have been the grand gesture I had envisioned, but in that moment, it was the lifeline she desperately needed. Our son arrived, breathing life into our world and pushing us to establish a new rhythm. It was a whirlwind time, as any new parent knows, but we fought to steal moments for each other amidst the chaos. During the early stages of our relationship, she immersed herself in an online chat system, a place brimming with inappropriate conversations. She confessed that she had been part of that community for quite some time, having formed strong connections there. I understood the need for belonging, as I had my own online tribe, though not centered around inappropriate chats. I trusted her completely and voiced my approval. In fact, I even helped her create some steamy avatars that matched the site's theme. Her passion for closeness was contagious, and it only fueled my desire. So I had no complaints whatsoever. But then, the lines between boundaries began to blur. Desperate to keep my wife content, I chose silence, feigning ignorance about the things I noticed. One of the earliest transgressions unfolded a few months after our son's arrival. After a long day at work, I returned home to find her indulging in self-pleasure in our bedroom. Initially, I was struck by a surge of desire, a thought whispering, "Well, this is quite the steamy surprise. Time to join in the fun." Stepping closer, I caught a glimpse of her, hastily concealing her phone, while a deep voice echoed through the receiver. She was engaged in phone cheating with some mysterious man. "Keep your composure," I told myself. "She's eager, prepared for a passionate encounter. Ignore it." I urged myself to move forward. But the memory lingered, etching itself into my mind. In the years that followed, including the present, a series of peculiar phone conversations unfolded, unbeknownst to her, but not to me. I overheard these clandestine exchanges as she spun captivating tales, weaving intricate alternate lives for herself and our family, entangling unsuspecting men in her web of fiction. Through a closed door, I caught wind of an intriguing conversation. She wove a tale of being a widow seeking solace in her family's mountain ski cottage, a respite from the overwhelming strain of burying her husband. Astonishingly, this was her norm. Each time, she effortlessly assumed an alternate persona, enthralling these men. Sometimes real names were employed, while other times she conjured up fictional identities. Her stories danced between partial truths and complete fabrications. How she managed to juggle numerous plot lines, navigating the complexities from one day to the next, often with multiple individuals, remains an enigma that bewilders the mind. Now, let's fast forward to some of the recent and egregious transgressions within our marriage. 3 years ago, I found myself away for the weekend, not too far off, paying a visit to some friends. Usually, on such occasions, which happened a couple of times a year, I'd spend the night there due to the late hours and my exhaustion. However, something felt off this time, like an unsettling itch creeping beneath my skin. Her behavior and excessive texting, offering up unsolicited details about her evening, struck me as peculiar. She was unusually loquacious, oversharing every minute detail of her night. That wasn't her normal self with me, so I knew something was awry. It was around 1:30 or 2 a.m. when I made up my mind. I had to return home that very night. The drive was a mere hour, and a strong cup of coffee would keep me alert. Allow me to recount a particular detail she shared with me. According to her, a friend whom I'll refer to as Jane had paid a visit that night. Apparently, Jane had brought along some marijuana, intending to indulge in a smoking session. Let me clarify. I've never dabbled in drugs, nor do I condone any illegal substances, and she knows this all too well. In a subsequent text, she informed me that Jane would be spending the night as she was in no state to drive. It was around 3 a.m. when I arrived home, and to my surprise, there was not a single car in the driveway. A quick glance around the street revealed no parked cars nearby either. Where could Jane's car have vanished to? Entering the house cautiously, just in case I had missed something or my wife had picked up Jane earlier, I anticipated finding Jane dozing off on the couch. Upon reaching the couch, what caught my eye was a disconcerting sight, an apparent stain resembling dried semen. To add to the perplexity, an incessant snoring emanated from the upstairs bedroom. Silently, I ascended the stairs, my instincts propelling me forward, driven by a nagging suspicion. And there, lying beside my wife in our very own bed, lay a complete stranger, a man I had never laid eyes upon before. The world around me seemed to crumble as if hurtling toward an inevitable end. Seeking solace, I entered my daughter's room across the hall. Yes, we had a daughter by then, but both children were spending the weekend at my in-laws, a glaring anomaly, considering my absence. Why burden them with the kids when they resided quite a distance away? Overwhelmed, I sank onto a chair, burying my face in my hands, lost in contemplation for what must have been at least 30 minutes or more, grappling with the weighty decision of what to do next. Despite my initial calmness, I realized that remaining composed was no longer an option. Determined, I stormed into the bedroom, switched on the light, and landed a powerful punch on the intruder's head with all my might. The impact was so fierce that my wedding ring flew off my hand, leaving me to ponder if it held any significance. Seizing him by the legs, I forcefully pulled him out of my bed, vehemently instructing him to leave my house immediately. I'll spare you some of the details, but in retrospect, I don't believe he knew she was married. His genuine surprise at my presence was unmistakable. To make matters worse, he hadn't driven to our place, hence the absence of another car. Reluctantly, I had no choice but to let my wife drive him home. At that moment, my thinking was clouded, as I should have insisted he walk or hailed a cab instead. After her return, we found ourselves seated in the kitchen, engaging in a conversation that extended until the break of dawn. She adamantly swore that nothing untoward had occurred, emphasizing that they simply indulged in getting high and dozed off. The perplexing aspect was that I had not caught them in the act. I had no concrete evidence to substantiate my suspicions. Strangely enough, the stain on the couch vanished into thin air, while I drifted into slumber later that day. Additionally, a photograph of us from our honeymoon, which I'd noticed was missing from our refrigerator, mysteriously reappeared. My mind was plagued with doubts about her, even prior to this incident. There were certain aspects of her life that I had refrained from discussing, deeming them unimportant and unworthy of starting a conflict. However, it had reached a point where I had to confront her directly, seeking nothing but the unvarnished truth. One trivial matter that had been nagging at me was the high school she supposedly attended. She had always maintained that she went to a specific Catholic school in her hometown, yet I couldn't find any shred of evidence to support this claim. In fact, I had come to believe that she attended the public school within the district where she resided, a district notorious for its dismal reputation in the state. I didn't care about the specific school she attended. All I wanted was the truth. She adamantly stuck to her story about going to the Catholic school. Fine, I thought, let's not dwell on that. What truly gnawed at me was the mystery surrounding her former roommate. Over the years, I stumbled upon tidbits of information that never quite added up. Curiously, these details seemed to align a bit too well with aspects of her ex-husband's life. I mustered the courage to confront her, declaring, "I have a suspicion that roommate isn't a real person. I believe roommate is actually ex-husband, and you were still married when we met. I think I unknowingly became the other man, unknowingly ending your previous marriage." She denied it vehemently. Of course, she had a story prepared, a tale with slight alterations, additional elaborations, meticulously covering all the bases. I had nothing more than a gut feeling, no concrete evidence to support my hunch. Eventually, I made the difficult choice to forgive her, convincing myself that in order for our relationship to survive, and for the sake of our children, I needed to rebuild my trust in her. With our foundation shaken but not shattered, we pressed forward, determined to move on. Months later, I overheard her conversing on the phone, weaving tales of a family getaway in a fictional ski cottage. The absurdity of it all struck me, knowing she had never skied and her family faced financial constraints. Determined, I confronted her outside our closed bedroom door, demanding she face the truth. Initially, she denied the call's existence, but as I recounted specific details, she couldn't deny her deception any longer. Lying seemed to come effortlessly to her. It was her go-to defense mechanism. Time passed, and on my birthday, I found myself working from home. Coincidentally, she also had the day off, yet I couldn't help but notice her relentless texting, an enigma that unfolded before me. How did I stumble upon this revelation? She handed me her phone, revealing her inability to hide her tracks effectively. We had separate cell phone accounts, but decided to combine them onto one service. Since my carrier offered a better deal, we planned to transfer her number to my account. While we were both at home, we took the opportunity to initiate the transfer, which meant her phone would be temporarily out of service. As I backed up her old phone to preserve her contacts and pictures, I received text messages from an unknown number, not saved in her contacts. The porting process took a few hours, causing her growing impatience, as she was reluctant to halt her conversations with the new guy. After the porting process was completed, a deluge of text messages poured in, prompting her to respond vigorously, even sending hundreds in a single day. Unaware that my plan didn't include unlimited texting, I discovered the hefty charges when checking our account usage the next day. Confronting her about it, I urged her to cease this costly behavior. It turned out to be yet another instance involving another guy, though the details blend together amidst the recurring pattern. Once again, I confronted her about it, and once again she made promises to stop. 3 more tense months passed, fueling my escalating paranoia. Whenever possible, I surreptitiously checked her phone, scouring through emails, texts, and photos. Among them, I stumbled upon explicit pictures she never intended for me. In a nutshell, if only it were that simple, she went on a lunch date with a guy and later rendezvoused at a nearby park. A message following their outing revealed her desire for a more close encounter, lamenting the presence of bystanders. That was it, the breaking point. During a subsequent call, I couldn't hide my anger. I stepped out of my office to express my frustration and confronted her about the lunch date and park rendezvous. Overwhelmed with guilt, she wept, fearing the demise of our marriage. Once again, I relented, my loyalty intact, but I sternly warned her that no more chances would be given. This was the final ultimatum. That final opportunity lasted around 8 months, or perhaps even less, considering I caught her red-handed. But that brings us almost to the present. Did you know you can message people through Yelp? Well, she did, and apparently she was engaging in conversations with some local guy there. That's where I stumbled upon her most recent mischievous escapades. Soon after, she ventured into the realm of Kik Messenger. She even posted on Reddit, seeking out Kik pals, and it didn't take long for her to entice a few individuals. While I haven't closely monitored her activities on Kik, I do know she has been regularly communicating with at least 2 people, and their messages are far from innocent, just friends banter. Just the other day, she needed my assistance with her phone due to some issues she was experiencing. In no time, I stumbled upon a folder containing a collection of explicit photos and videos she had sent through Kik. However, it was after this revelation that I made the decision to divorce her. Ever since that fateful night, when I unexpectedly discovered her in bed with another man, forgiveness has remained elusive. It has gnawed at me relentlessly, despite my attempts to convince myself that trust is possible and that her love for me is genuine. Deep down, I knew she would always resort to deception and foster a sense of mistrust. Over the past few weeks, driven by the accumulation of years of lies, I reached a breaking point. I debated internally, weighing the pros and cons, until finally, I made a decision. With trepidation, I hit the send button, dispatching a heartfelt message to her ex-husband via Facebook Messenger. I had no clue if he would even read it, let alone respond, yet I needed answers, and he had no vested interest in deceiving me. To my surprise, within a mere 30 seconds, I received the seen notification. Then in just a couple of minutes, he replied, acknowledging that she had likely lied about him and his past. This was it, the conversation I had yearned for. Over the next hour and a half, we engaged in a candid exchange, delving into every aspect. Astonishingly, he even expressed a desire to meet in person for further discussion. We engaged in a mutually beneficial conversation, addressing my lingering doubts about her and his own curiosities about me. I was the unknowing other man in her life. When I met her, she was still married and living with her husband. As for the so-called roommate, it turned out to be a complete fabrication. I conducted a thorough public records search on Spokeo and did come across someone with the same name as the supposed roommate, living on the same street as one of my wife's previous addresses. However, her ex-husband had no knowledge of this person, leaving us to wonder if it was simply a bizarre coincidence or a neighbor he had never encountered. The truth about her father also came to light. The notion of an Italian father was entirely fabricated. Those alleged summer trips to Italy, they never occurred. In reality, she only visited Italy once as part of a school trip. Speaking of school, it turns out she did attend the public school I had suspected all along. And here's the kicker. She's not even a Catholic. So where did she disappear to during those times she claimed to be attending Sunday Mass? Probably out on more dates with random guys. And let's not forget about those 2 degrees she boasted about. After catching her with the lunch date dude, I demanded answers to the web of lies she had spun. One truth she reluctantly admitted was that she had no degrees at all. She claimed to have attended both schools, but never finished either of them. However, her ex-husband revealed that she hadn't even attended those schools in the first place. Just 1 semester at a local college, and that was the extent of it. So even when she tried to confess some truth to me, it was just a different set of lies. She's pulled the same crap with her ex-husband repeatedly, ran up his credit cards and left them unpaid. Relatedly, basically drained my 401k through loans and early withdrawals she talked me into. Do I need to keep going on? It's all a lie. I've only scratched the surface here, but there's no time to go over all the countless transgressions. Let me share one more story she's told countless times. She claims to have lived in New York City during that days, while not attending Columbia. According to her, she was in class when the attack happened, witnessing the fear and panic. She also mentioned knowing interns at the World Trade Center who didn't survive. She even claimed to have worked as an intern at the New York Times and had a shared byline on a front-page story published on the day after the attack, with the audacious claim that it was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. Tease all a web of lies. At ex-husband revealed that they never actually lived in NYC. They may have visited for some fun weekends, but they never resided there. This is deeply offensive to all the New Yorkers who experienced the tragedies of 9/11s, and it sickens me to my core. So, I've made the difficult decision to divorce my wife. There will be no trial separation. I've given her enough chances to change, but it's had no effect. Counseling won't help either, as I've reached my breaking point. The trust between us is shattered beyond repair. It breaks my heart for the sake of our kids, but this is the only way forward. I believe that, in the long run, it's the right choice, but I'm honestly terrified of the storm that lies ahead and the hardships we will all have to endure. My love for my children is unwavering, and I only want the best for them. So here I am, at the end of my woeful tale, ready to embark on the next chapter. Where do I go from here? How can I navigate this process in the best way possible? Money is tight for me, living paycheck to paycheck. To me, it would be ideal if we could avoid lawyers. Neither of us can afford one anyway. Will she play dirty when it comes to the kids? I can't predict that. The uncertainty is unsettling. Strangely enough, I don't harbor ill feelings towards her. Despite everything, I don't want any harm to come her way. It may sound odd, but I don't want to fight with her once this is all over. I want us to maintain a mature co-parenting relationship after I express my desire for a divorce. I need her cooperation to ensure a smooth transition for everyone involved. There are a few challenges to consider. We don't have family nearby who can provide immediate support. They're not too far, but not close enough for us to stay with them if necessary. My wife works from home, so we need to figure out a solution for her to continue working without risking her job. She currently takes care of dropping off and picking up our kids from school, so any changes in our living arrangements must consider that. A close friend who went through a divorce last year advised me to wait until after the holidays for emotional support. Being alone during the holidays really sucks. Besides, it will give me some time to plan things out, hopefully. I need your advice on what steps to take next, any helpful resources, and ways to support my kids through this difficult time. When my parents divorced, I was 19 and managed to handle it as an adult. However, my younger brother, who was only 13 at the time, struggled a lot. Now my own kids are 5 and 8, and I'm really worried about how this will impact them. I'm seeking guidance to ensure their well-being. Please help me. By the way, in case anyone wonders, yes, she had an Ashley Madison account, but I didn't need their data breach to find that out. I discovered it during the whole ordeal on my birthday. It was just one of the emails I came across while using her phone.